Welcome to my review of the EPOMAKER EK21 via chipset hot swappable RGB number pad. This particular one that I got was with the Flamingo switches, and it is a linear type, so you won't get that clicking sound. And we'll go ahead and test out all of the features and functionality, so stay tuned. EPOMAKER also includes a really nice, well-built key puller, and it has both types. You have your hot swap key switch grabber, and then you have the keycap puller on the other end. But this is kind of what the unit looks like. You have a beautiful plastic finish. It is plastic, it's not aluminum and it's not metal, but the plastic does feel quite durable. And then of course you have your Flamingo linear switches, which are very quiet. So we'll see what that sounds like. And your aluminum control knob, which has a nice clicking feel to it. So you won't get that tactical feel, and you don't have a lot of resistance on these particular switches. And there is your pink Flamingo linear key switch right there. And that's kind of why these switches are so quiet, but they do come in with stereo linear as well as the Poron Pro yellow switches, if that's kind of what you prefer. In terms of my experience with these switches, they do sound a lot more quieter, and they have very little tactile feel to them compared to something like mechanical blue switches, which kind of sound like this. So you have definitely your clicking sound, but when you compare it to these pink Flamingo EPOMAKER switches, they are linear, so they are very, very quiet. I found that these pink Flamingo switches sound very similar in key profile and key travel distance to black switches, and here's kind of what that sounds like. The number pad does have programmability thanks to its use of the chipset, but because you do have these labeled keycaps, unless you plan to actually replace some of these keycaps, that does open up the possibility to customize this particular EPOMAKER EK21 quite a lot, and that's really one of the best features about it that I like. Look at what the other connectivity options are. You have your 2.4 GHz wireless dongle that you can slide in there, and then the switch at the back to be able to toggle between the different options. When you do that, you'll get a flashing green LED indicating that it's trying to connect, and then again, if you do it in the Bluetooth mode, you will get a blue LED. Try out all the different options, and I will also use it with the included braided Type-C cable that I liked quite a lot. So it measures about 5.5 inches, give or take, and then on the width, really around 3.75 inches, but the depth and the height of the unit varies. All the way at the front, you do have less than an inch, and then at the back, including the height profile, it rises up to 1.5 inches, but they do include the branding on the front, and then if you switch over to the back, they do have that as well. I haven't noticed any issues in terms of the build quality just yet. You know, it's not sliding around. In fact, it's actually moving around my table. The compatibility is listed primarily to work with Windows, and back, because it comes with that software that you'll need to install in order to be able to customize some of the feature set of this. Look at further hot swapping some of these key switches and removing out the keycaps as well. What I like about the manual is that it includes diagrams of actually how to not just actuate but also replace some of the hot swappable key switches and how to properly do that without damaging the circuit board underneath. And here you can see the RGB lighting effect out of the box is pretty ample. I do think that the keycaps color scheme of the white and the grays and the black plastics does look quite good, but the keycaps are not transparent, so they do not illuminate through the numbers, and that is a bit of a downside. With the 2.4 GHz, you do get that full 1000 Hz polling rate for the keys, and under the Bluetooth mode, it does drop significantly to 125 Hz key polling rate. I haven't noticed any specific issues with ghosting, but it does have an anti-NKRO ghosting system, so that is really nice to see. And you can also adjust the backlight saturation up and down using the function 5 and 6 keys. So this really increases the saturation, but if we decrease it, you'll notice that it's more lightened and it is more on the on a lighter hues, versus if we increase the saturation, now you get that beautiful color scheme. And there's also the option to toggle up and down the brightness by, again, using the function up and plus and minus keys. So it's kind of at maximum brightness, and this is kind of what it looks like at minimum brightness. And I find that the brightness is ample. I think it's just really a matter of the keycaps that are used on this particular unit do hide some of that lighting effect. Particularly the RGB doesn't necessarily shine through because the keycaps are not transparent, and they do cover a lot of the surface area where you normally might be able to see the RGB coming through. So that is a bit of a downside. Overall, I did find that the key switches are very decent quality. I mean, if you look at in this range, you are getting quite a lot of value, at least in my opinion. Overall, I'm quite happy with the EPOMAKER EK21 hot swappable via chipset number pad, which includes a nice keycap puller as well as a pretty USB Type-C cable, and the multiple connectivity options is really the feature that I like the most, being able to toggle and switch between different devices, but overall the RGB lighting effects on the wired mode, as well as being able to program some of the switches and have the flexibility to replace either the keycaps or the keycaps and the switches, it opens up quite a lot of flexibility on using this particular model, and I do think that it is pretty nice